May we build and go strong. Oh, cause we ready to fight and ready to strike, and they can deny us. With review some extra time.
Good morning, football lovers all across this beautiful nation of Guyana, and welcome to this edition of Extra Time, a program that comes to you compliments of the Guyana Football Federation in collaboration with the National Communication Network. And we're here to tell you all that's happening in the world of football across this nation. We're going to start a program today and let you know a little bit about the Guyana Football Federation itself in terms of where it came from, where it started, and of course, what the affiliating organizations are. So here we go straight into that. The Guyana Football Federation is the premier football authority in Guyana and works to promote the efficient management, administration, and development of the game, while at the same time promoting a dynamic and relevant football culture in which football as a national sport provides for education, social, physical, and total development among youth, adult footballers, and various stakeholders. Guyana Football Federation commenced operation in the year 1902 and became affiliated to the world governing body FIFA in 1968 and to CONCACAF in 1961. The GFF has responsibility to regulate and manage football in all its forms in compliance with the laws of Guyana. The Federation is affiliated to and observes and complies with the rules, bylaws, regulations, directives, and decisions of the Federation International de Football Association FIFA, the Confederation of North, Central America and Caribbean Association Football (CONCACAF), the Caribbean Football Union (CFU), and the Guyana Olympic Association (GOA). Additionally, the GFF recognized the Court of Arbitration in Lausanne, Switzerland (CSA).
It's time to settle the score. Season 2 in the Stag Elite League. Witness football at its best as the Guyana Football Federation presents the Big Four. The Big Four. The Big Four. Friday the 10th of November. Semi-finals. Match 1. Fruto Conquerors versus Victoria Kings. Match 2. The Guyana Defense Force versus Boston United. Kickoff time 18 hours. Then the grand finals on Sunday the 15th of November. Both matches at the Lenore Track and Field Stadium. The Big Four. Brought to you with the kind compliments of the Guyana Football Federation and Stag Beer, a man's beer.
We are one team, one dream. This is who we are. One team, one dream.
Yes, and welcome back to Extra Time. I certainly do hope you're having a wonderful Sunday morning. I know it's Sunday, so most of you probably got up a bit late and probably preparing for whatever your Sunday look like, whether it's that metachi, whether it's that cook-up. If you live in the country, good morning to you. And of course, I do know country life is wonderful. This morning is mommy or someone, auntie in the kitchen preparing that metachi, usually taking a little longer than usual, but it's worth the wait because it's going to be absolutely delicious. If you're here in the city, you're probably bringing something forward, but that's another conversation in itself. We're here to talk football and, of course, tell you about the Guyana Football Federation. With us this morning is the president of the Guyana Football Federation, Mr. Wayne Ford. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Thank you, Kieran. It's a pleasure to be here.
I must say congratulations, President, Guyana Football Federation. Congratulations on that. I know I'm a bit late, but nevertheless, I think it's a wonderful accomplishment, and congrats are in order at any time.
Well, you're almost 2 years late. On the 14th of this month, I will have been at the helm of local football for 2 years.
Wow, 2 years. I can only imagine what that 2 years is like, and I'm really hoping that we get a chance to really talk about what that 2 year has been like. But I'm particularly interested, and I know a lot of listeners, a lot of Guyanese across might be wondering, Wayne Ford? We've heard the name because football, of course, is our sport. It's in our vein. It's in every community, on every block, every street, everywhere football is playing at a very organized level. And in some cases, it's just youngsters coming together and make it happen. But Wayne Ford, that name took us by storm, became president. Tell us a little bit. What's the journey like? What brought you to this point? Tell us a little bit about Wayne Ford.
interesting because up until I ran for the office of the GFF, very few people outside of the immediate Georgetown environs did not know that I was very active in football. To go back from where it all started, I am a born Bartician. I spent the formative years of my life in Bartica. And during those early days, all we did in Bartica, we swam a lot and we played football. I left Bartica at the age of 10, and I don't recall up until I left that we had a car that was actively traversing the streets of Bartica.
It was Bartica in the days.
That was Bartica in the days. And when I returned a few years later, and of course I do visit now in my business life, there are multiple taxi services.
Wow.
And many of the buildings that I knew when as a child have been renovated and they're now modern. When I came to Georgetown, unfortunate family circumstances prompted that move. My grandmother died, who I grew up with. But let's go to football. I started my own business in 2000. I started my first business, Oasis Water, and we started that business in the Tugville area.
Okay.
And Tugville happened to be very, very close to the ground that Fruit to Conquerors Football Club is the custodian of, and they practice on a daily basis. So it was natural for me as a football person to venture to see what was happening there in the afternoons. I would play some scrubby with the guys, and then the conversation led to the secretary at the time, Mr. Marlon Cole, who's now the director of the Guyana Foods and Drugs organization, approached me for sponsorship, and it started there with me providing them with water and some finances here and there, and to the extent that a few months later he came and he asked me if I was interested in being an executive member, and I started out, and that was in 2000, and I think it was 2002. I started out there as this first vice president, and a few months later the young lady that was the president at the time, she went on to do some studies, and I assumed the presidency, and that's where my journey in football began. Following that, I got involved at the Georgetown Football Association level, where I served as the fourth vice president for a couple of years. But it's only natural the way that I get around things. I'm very practical in how I try to achieve things. So it's natural that I will not be a well-known person up until you run for a job that is as visible as this one.
Yes, I could imagine, but I certainly could appreciate the fact that I'm visualizing you being a youngster in Bartica, because Bartica Beaches presents the opportunity for kicking the ball on the beach. So there is that part happening, and then wherever space is. So I'm visualizing you being a youngster in Bartica, playing football, coming to Georgetown. Besides, I'm certain you would have been involved at various levels, just trying to scrubby, as you would say. And then I'm really pleased to see that, or to hear that your engagement was on the level of a partnership in terms of with Fruit to Conquerors. I mean, I see football as something that's a part of every Guyanese and part of our everyday life. And it takes great partnership, great engagement and conversations to make it happen. So I'm encouraged to see that your engagement in the football has been through partnership with Fruit to Conquerors. And by now, of course, I'm certain that is what keeps you going as president now. I mean, conversations, relationship, having to engage at so many different levels. So I'm pleased that that level of experience is there. But I just want to drift just a little back. Grassroots football. In your journey, how important was that, or how important is that in terms of informing your decisions right now as president?
You know, for anyone that really understands the fundamentals of football development, they would appreciate the need to invest in grassroots and youth development program. I don't want to use Fruit to Conquerors too often in this interview. I'll get in trouble for it. But one of the reasons why that club has remained as a force to reckon with on the field for many years, is because that club operates in an environment that naturally produces many young men that don't necessarily have activities to keep them actively and gainfully engaged. And that club maintained a philosophy of youth development for many years. So the fact that my relationship from an administrative standpoint started at Fruit to Conquerors, I was indoctrinated with that philosophy. So it's only natural that being the president of Guyana Football Federation, my trajectory in terms of how we should develop football would be in that line. But then apart from that, I've done a lot of research, spent many years of being involved in football. I've read extensively from a technical standpoint, an administrative standpoint, as to how you can really develop a football nation. And the good thing is that we have several good models. Iceland has presented itself as a nation of, I think, just about 500,000 inhabitants, and they knocked England out of the qualifier in the Euro. They have done tremendously well because they focus on the things that we are focusing on in Guyana. They focus on facilities, coaching, education, grassroots program.
Nice.
If you can balance those three components of the game carefully, methodically, and comprehensively, you will develop a football product that is respectful and is worthy to compete at any level of the game.
Nice. Of course, that brings the other question, because you did mention a club, and in recent time there have been a lot of conversations around football in terms of distinguishing club from teams.
Right.
I know that has been a big conversation now. Your involvement, because I really wanted this conversation for persons, our viewers and out there, to really understand where you came from. How important is that transition? How important is that recognition from a team to a club? I know you were introduced to Fruit Conquerors. Obviously, they must have been mobilized enough to recognize you as a businessman and as a partner. So they obviously would have had some level of infrastructure. But from your experience and studies, how important is that conversation, and how has that influenced your journey?
The fact remains that throughout Guyana, we have more teams than clubs. And the definition of a club is one that we have much work to do to really get to the full definition of that clubs. Unfortunately, the administration of football falls within the realm of volunteer services.
Yes.
I being the most, I guess, visible volunteer in the sport. So what you have is a situation where many clubs are essentially run by the coach. The coach for the number one team is the person that is doing the lion's share of the work. Many of these clubs do have executive members, but in my own experience is that these executive members, they show up at the date when the election is held, they're elected, and they take a nice photograph for the newspapers, and for many of them, that's the only service that the club gets out of them. So that is a challenge. It's a challenge, and it's not something that the Guyana Football Federation can single-handedly solve, but it's a problem, it's a challenge that we must solve, because the delivery of service to the members, to the players, the organization of the club's program has to be done by the executive members. And if you assign those responsibilities to a coach whose focus should be on coaching the players, and you have him trying to get around admin services and all the logistics that goes along with running a club, you're not going to be able to meet the demands of how a club should operate. And I think we can see evidence of clubs that are functioning with executive members that are actively involved in the day-to-day running of the club performing much better than those that are simply 18 players and a coach. And I think that with the CONCACAF club licensing program that Guyana is now a part of, many of these teams that have really resisted transitioning to an actual club is going to find it very difficult to operate in the years to come, because we as a federation, while our main focus is to support the transition, there will become a time when we will have to say, well, unless you can satisfy these criteria, you will not be recognized as a member.
Nice. Well, I'm happy to hear that that conversation about institutional strengthening is there, because this institution is strong. Football is one of the strongest product and institution in Guyana, but unfortunately, sometimes it goes there, and I am happy to hear that, we're working towards institutional strengthening. My next question would be, we have the associations level, we have the federation level. You've had the privilege of being involved at the level of association, and ever so often, especially in time in the past, a lot of football discussion happened up to the association. For me, growing up in Linden, a lot of times my consciousness and my conversation about football was about the UDFA, because that's what I'm aware of. They're the authority of football in the region, and I felt that, at that point is where all your question goes to. But even in terms of function at the UDFA level and at the federation level, what does that mean to Wayne Ford? How has that influenced you? And first of all, as a person, functioning at the Guyana Football, the Georgetown Football Association level, and then perhaps we could drift into GFF, or functioning at the GFA level, how has that influenced your ability to inform policy now? But how does that influence the person, Wayne Ford?
Well, let's focus on the policy aspect. Clearly, if you spend some time at a club level and at the association level, you have two different perspectives. Now I operate at the federation level, so I have the benefit of serving at those three levels. So I'm a lot more informed. I have, I would say, that I have a good understanding of the dynamics of how these three key pillars of the sport operates. The earlier comments that I made about the challenges at the club level, many of those challenges exist at the association level, because as the football structure in Guyana exists, the executive members of clubs are the elected members of associations in most instances. So the lack thereof of certain discipline that can sometimes hurt the operation of a club exists also at the association level. Now, we know as an executive body, my colleagues and I, we understand how important it is to find ways and develop strategies to improve the operations at these levels. The federation is the hub for local football, but we execute our programs through our membership, through the associations and through the clubs. And unless the federation works very closely with the associations and the clubs to build capacity, to improve their administration, to ensure that we have the right direction in terms of policy, so that we're all marching to the same rhythm and beat, we will be unable to affect the game in the manner in which we hope to affect it over the 4 years of our terms. We have 2 years left, and we've achieved a tremendous amount of work over those first 2 years, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to do much more in the 2 remaining years. At an individual level, it's very challenging, being the president of the Guyana Football Federation. I served at the club level as a volunteer and a sponsor. I'm still a sponsor to some extent, in a big way, at the association level. And that's not any different from what's happening right now. And at the federation level, I am volunteering. This is not a job that pays the president. And the difference is that it comes with an enormous sense of responsibility and a sense of duty. And I can tell you, I am honored that the members would have bestowed that level of trust on me to take football to a different place. It's something that I'm conscious of. If I were to say to someone that it's easy and it's a piece of cake, I'll be lying. Operating at a club level and even at an association barely prepares you for for the actual demands as president of the Guyana Football Federation. Balancing relationships with your teams, your clubs, your associations, with your sponsors, with the government, with the international footballing community, the demands for travel. I've heard comments within my own fraternity that seems to suggest that the president just enjoys traveling. I actually despise having to travel, because all I see is airport, long transit, and hotels. You go to these places. I only returned from Luxembourg a few days ago, and all I saw for Luxembourg was the airport, the hotel, and the office that we had the meetings. Wow. Because it's usually that tight. Yes. And it took 38 hours of flying to get to that country. And who would want to expose themselves to that? So it's a humbling experience, I must say, and you're learning every single day. Of course, there are mistakes that you make, that one would make in such a demanding situation, because the decision-making pace is very, very rapid, And a lot of times, like any leader, I think you have to make decisions in the shortest possible time and with the least amount of information available to you. So your instinct and your experience plays a very important role. But it has been quite a journey. It's been 2 years, and I'm excited about the next 2 years because I think the impact that we will have over the 4 years that we've been entrusted with the beautiful game in Guyana will be very transformational. I think that those that would have been paying attention to the way we've been implementing our developmental strategy, the executive committee, would see that we are doing and implementing changes that are transformational. We're not just doing things that are headline grabbing or feel good. We're doing a lot of fundamental things. The Academy Training Center, the heavy investment in coaching development, the construction of the Providence project. And there's some I wouldn't share because it's going to be announced very soon, but the massive amount of work that will be done at the association level in terms of improving infrastructure. I think at the end of our 4 years, not only the football family, but I think Guyana in itself will look at football and see a credible institution that has made a real effort to transform and reform itself and has made an impact on the operation of the sport to the extent that it affects in a positive way the lives of every boy, girl, man and woman that engages the sport.
Nice. And of course in Guyana that practically means every household.
Every household, I hope.
Well, there's so many football fans and fanatics across, so many commentators that would have said so many different things, and I'm certain they've noticed that the transformational activities and initiatives that have been engaged. But Mr. Ford, you're a businessman as well. I'm hearing you talk of 38 hours flight and having to go to meetings and ensure, be it lobbying and advocating for Guyana's football. How does this affect them? How does this affect business? If you're willing to share.
Well, I can't share as much as I would love to share, but I'll put it into perspective. The executive committee and myself, we all came and made a solemn commitment to do what we can to bring our best to the operation of football. Every member, my first vice president, Brigadier Lovell, who's a tremendously brilliant man, Ralston Adam, Tandai McAllister, Keto Jair, Dion Innes, Maxine Stewart, Carmel Williams, Ryan Farias. We have a very good, tightly knit team, and we all came willingly to give of ourselves to the beautiful game. Some came with less experience than I did because they clearly were not involved in the sport. But if there is anything that I think is common among us is sacrifice. Okay. And we've all had to make that sacrifice. Being at the helm, my portion has been a little hefty, and operating as in a role like this takes you away from your family. Yeah. Takes you away from your business, and that's a question that you ask. My hours that I actually spend in my business has reduced dramatically. I think I manage to do 6 hours a week, but of course we're getting by. But there are moments when you ask yourself if it's worth it, to be honest with you, because not very often you get any positive feedback. We actually operate in an environment where the positive outlook, and there's a reason for it, of football is one that has been very lacking. So, we've had to become very, I should say, resistant to that. But there are moments as a human being where you simply say, is it really worth it? The amount of energy and time and absence from your family, you're flying on a plane and enduring the risk associated with that. Is it really worth it? But I think when you look, when I visit an academy training center and I see the exciting and smiling faces of the young boys and girls there Saturday and Sunday doing what they love to do, and knowing that my colleagues and I would have created that opportunity for them, I think those are the few moments that gives me the energy that I need to keep plowing ahead.
Nice. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're speaking of moments, and I'm impressed. The ATC have definitely been remarkable, and we will definitely get more in depth on the ATC as we continue on the weekly program. But could you share a moment that besides going to see the ATC, a defining moment in your presence as president, something that would have occurred in the last two years that you say, well, yes, this is it. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm going after.
Well, it's really an email. I wouldn't call it a name because I would probably need permission, but I got an email at a very challenging period in my exco when we were having some issues with clubs and leagues and all of that from a gentleman who is actually a member of one of the clubs that were challenging us. And in that email he spoke about my composure and how I do handle stuff and my quality of leadership that he would have seen. And every now and again I read that email. I responded, of course, to the email and say thank you. But the fact that there was someone from the other side writing the president to say that, we may disagree, but you've brought dignity to the conversation, you've all remained composed, and you've conducted yourself in a manner that is very deserving of everyone's respect. When you're in these challenging roles, not very often you get those kind of feedback. So when you do get it, you have enough respect for the person that you're confident that they're being sincere, it means something to you. So and then only recently I had one of my colleagues. I was surprised actually at the extent to which my colleagues within the CFU family pays attention to the various Facebook football pages.
Yes.
And of course our website where we update. And one of my colleagues actually, President Hillerin from USVI, wrote me a nice email saying that he was very impressed with what we've been doing in Guyana for the past 2 years and just, words of encouragement. So I think the fact that I am placing that much emphasis on hearing that tells you about the crisis we have in getting anything positive when it comes to feedback. So I think that's the message that is coming across.
I'm happy. Sometimes the argument is whether or not, it's a cultural thing or whether or not it's just the environment that we tend to find ourselves in. But I mean, speaking of positive feedback and the CFU, I'm very curious. Way forward, what's next?
When my days are done, and I hold me to this. I told one of my colleagues, I said, when my time is finished at the Federation, I will disappear into the twilight. And that would be it. I will not comment on whoever's there, criticize. I'm finished. I do love football. So it's very likely that I might end up owning a club or do a project. Okay. But in terms of the operation and the politics, when my time is done, I am done. Period.
All right.
You just the same way you didn't know I existed before. GFF,
you go back.
That's going to happen.
But I'm seriously thinking because football have an international culture, and I'm seeing CFU, I'm seeing CONCACAF, I'm seeing FIFA. I'm also seeing some names along the line. Would I see Wayne Ford anywhere there?
Had fate had its way, you wouldn't have even seen Wade Ford here because up on about, I guess, 3 to 4 months before the election, I had absolutely no interest in running for the GFF.
Okay. But
a few key things happened and my interest was triggered, and here I am. I don't know what the future holds. I think it's in terms of wanting to be active and provide leadership at the regional level, at the confederation level, and even at the international level. I think it's not just the ambition that one would need to have, is having a real sound conviction that you can make a difference.
Nice.
You will have to feel that, listen, if I ran for this position, I can make a difference. And you would have to bounce your ideas and strategies off of the people that you surround within your circle and get some feedback from them that, what you're thinking is something that we think is needed whether it's for the region, whether it's for the confederation. And I think to me that's a natural process rather than one just sitting down and having a vain ambition that they want to be the president of CONCACAF or the president of FIFA. So I wouldn't make any pronouncement now as it relates to the future, but I think that we'll just see where this journey takes me, I guess.
Mr. Ford, I definitely would love to see Guyanese, would love to see us participate in the conversation. I think, sometimes in order to make the difference, occupy the space. I wish you nothing but success and all the best with all your endeavors. But I do know we have an exciting weekend, Big Four weekend, big football happening, lots of football up and coming. And I'm certain you'll be joining me here on Extra Time many more weeks to come. So let me say thank you for your visit today. It's been a pleasure and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Of course, we're moving straight along. Let me say thank you very much for joining us today. Mr. Wayne Ford, wow, the president taking time out to come here in Extra Time and give us some little background, some insight. I'm certain he'll be joining us again. But our next segment we're moving on to is to the laws of the game. There have been lots of changes into the laws. In fact, thousands of words were changed out of the laws. There are 17 laws of the game, and there's the mention of the 18th one, which is said to be common sense. Here in Extra Time, we'll take you through the 17 laws one at a time. So here is Law 1.
Law 1 deals with the field of play. The maximum length of a football field is 120 metres, while the field must not be less than 90 metres. The maximum width is 90 metres, and the minimum is 45 metres. The field has a centre line and a centre circle. Goalposts must be white with a length between the posts of 7.32 metres and a height of 2.44 metres from the bottom of the crossbar to the ground. The goal area. The penalty area. The penalty mark and the penalty arc. The various distances inside the penalty area. The corner flag post must be not less than 1.5 metres high, with a non-pointed top. All lines must be of the same width, which must be not more than 12 centimetres. The corner arc has a radius of 1 metre. There may be an optional line marked off the field 9.15 metres from the arc. The goal line and the touch lines are part of the field of play. Lines are also part of the area that they border. If an offence takes place on the penalty area line, this is regarded as taking place inside the penalty area.
It's time to settle the score. Season 2 in the Stag Elite League. Witness football at its best as the Guyana Football Federation presents the Big Four. The Big Four. The Big Four. Friday the 10th of November. Semi-finals. Match 1. Fruto Conquerors versus Victoria Kings. Match 2. The Guyana Defence Force versus Boston United. Kickoff time 18 hours. Then the grand finals on Sunday the 15th of November. Both matches at the Lenore Track and Field Stadium. The Big Four. Brought to you with the kind compliments of the Guyana Football Federation and Stag Beer, a man's beer.
One team, one dream. This is who we are. One team, one dream. Let we build and go strong. Oh, cause we ready to fight and ready to strike, and they can deny us. With review some extra time. We are one team, one dream. This is who we are. One team, one dream. We are one team, one dream. This is who we are.
Yes, and of course, welcome back to Extra Time, a program that comes to you compliments of the Guyana Football Federation in collaboration with the National Communication Network. Once again, I'm your presenter, Kieran, and of course, it's a pleasure being here with you on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm telling you, it's the season when you have to expect all sorts of weather. We're in Guyana. Rain starts and then it gets bright, sunny, shiny day. Then it gets back to rain. And then Christmas time, it's a bit damp. So I certainly do hope whatever weather it is outside, you are prepared for it. Speaking of being prepared, I am prepared for a very exciting match weekend. I've had an exciting weekend thus far with football. Of course, the semi-final action for the Big Four, and then we're moving into the finals this evening. But that's another conversation in itself. 4 amazing football teams in this action. Don't let me tell you about it myself. We have here the Directors of Marketing and Sponsorship at the Guyana Football Federation, Mr. Dario McLennan, is with me this morning. Good morning to you, Mr. McLennan, and welcome.
Morning, and I am prepared too. I've started eating pepper pot, so the weather isn't bothering me.
I almost want to say season greetings.
All right, bring it on.
All right, so football. The other thing that comes with Christmas is football in Guyana. This has been this way for decades now. So when we think Christmas, we think pepper pot. We also think football. I remember those exciting days. Wow.
And there's going to be a major year-end tournament pretty soon that will be in the public domain. We're ironing out the details right now. But right now we want to talk about settling the score, bringing the curtains down for Season 2 of the Stag Elite League. All right, it ended without it. The last time play was in action, the next stage was supposed to be the Big Four, a clash of the champions of the entire league. That's happening this weekend. So on Friday night, you will see a matchup in the semi-finals, and this evening, right here, same venue, Lenora Stadium, Track and Field Stadium, the finals will be played between the winners from Friday. And what is very important is that we had 2 very valuable prizes that were made available by a very keen sponsor, somebody who wanted to be associated with the product of the Elite League and decided to come on board big time. We're talking about Marix company, Marix Honda, and Jiling as well. Both companies came on board, and as you can see in the studio, we have 2 bikes. One is for the MVP of Season 2, that's the Honda bike. It is a Honda XR150L. That's going to the MVP of Season 2. And this beauty over here, the red one, is a Jiling 150L. That's a Jiling 150 GY5. And that one is going to a fan. And so not only are we recognizing through the kind compliments of Honda, Marix Honda, and Automotive Power Products, which carries the Jiling brand, we're not only recognizing the players, but those companies have come on board to join us in recognizing the players as well as the fans, because the fans make football.
Definitely.
There's nothing in terms of vibes at a football game if you don't have fans.
True.
And so in Season 2, we made a very strong effort to recognize the sponsors. We had Church's Chicken on board giving away family meals at almost every game.
Nice.
Stag was there giving away hampers of Gillette and a number of things throughout the second half of the season. And of course, we were getting fan jerseys and caps and so on from Marix Honda and from Jiling. But this particular bike will be drawn on Sunday night at the finals, as well as that one. So the MVP will be recognized, and that person will walk away with that Honda bike there, that nice black and white.
Nice.
And a fan, but this is what's important. A fan who still has his or her stub from the games they attended. That's the fan.
So all the fans out there, I'm certainly thinking, please go look through your stuff. Go look through your stuff. Go check for your ticket stub. If you get your ticket stub, you could win yourself. This is a beautiful Jiling.
It's very unfortunate that so much time elapsed between the playing off of the Big Four, and we do apologize to the football fraternity for whatever inconvenience or disappointment they may have faced during that time, not seeing the end result of Season 2 of the Stag Elite League. And we really, really hope that the fans kept their stubs. So at every game, we kept asking them, hold on to your stub, because that red baby, one of you will take it home. And we are now calling on the fans to search, as you said, search in your wallet, wherever you would have hidden that stub, and walk with it, because this evening we'll be drawing, and a lucky fan will be going home with that Jiling. The beauty about what is happening from Honda, Marix, as well as from Automobile Power Products, they're coming complete with full documentation, registration, insurance, helmets, all of that. So when the fan walks away with this bike,
He
they can ride on the road
Wow.
and not worry. When the MVP walk away with that black and white, they're clear.
So let me just ask a question. So Kieran, the presenter of Extra Time now, was in a game, and still have my stub. Is it bad? If I win, would it be accepted, Mr. McLennan?
Had you come with your stub a few months ago, had the drawing been a few months ago, but now that you are associated with the Guyana Football Federation, you have eliminated yourself.
But I'm happy. You know, one of the things I thoroughly enjoy, and I must say I will admit it, I mean, I've never been a very skillful footballer. I kicked the ball. I had fun in the rain, in the mud.
I hope you wouldn't be asking me if I did the same.
No, of course not. I will put you on the spot. But one of the things I definitely have been, it's a very active fan. And I believe fans of football have been a group of people that have been ignored and neglected in so many different ways. I mean, don't get me wrong, we enjoy going to a game. I love my team, Eagles United. Let me say good morning to my fans in Linden, Eagles United, big up. All right, so I love my team, but outside of that, we go from game to game. We thoroughly enjoy the competition. We thoroughly enjoy the view, and ever so often, there are a few promotional activities, you know. We might have a beverage cut, we might have some jerseys, we might have, as churches, a family size from churches, but this is like no other. As a fan, to know that I could have paid to go into a game, I could have reached a game, and coming out of that game, I could be rewarded a motorcycle that is ready for me to ride away outside. I think I want to say thanks to GFF on behalf of all the fans, all the clappers out there. We say clapleats in athletics. All the fans out there, all the committed and passionate fans. I want to say thank you to GFF because it says that you care. It says that you recognize what we do by coming out night after night and supporting football because we love it. We come because we love it. But ain't nothing wrong with getting a little bonus. Motorbike.
And we're working very hard to be able to do likewise in season 3. Season 3 will be launched on the 19th of November.
Nice.
Very nice launch and so on. We're going really heavy with season 3. Heavy focus in getting the fans back to the games. And so we're working with each of the 10 elite clubs in their communities to help to rally those communities behind the clubs.
Yes.
And so each team will be in their communities doing community projects, doing outreaches, a number of things, so that when they come into a venue, they're not coming alone. They're coming with a little army. And so when you have 10 armies, from time to time, 2 clubs with their armies, we are looking at very exciting times for season 3. And we know that we're going to get good support from our sponsors again. We're likely to have another MVP bike.
Nice.
We're working to see if we can do something just as big for the fans. We don't know as yet, but definitely we will have another MVP bike. And just before you kick me off here, let me mention a little more about the 2 companies that sponsors these bikes. Now, the Automobile Power Product is the sole distributor for Jailing and Eagle motorcycles. They have a very effective after-sales service, and they have a lot of promotions coming up for the Christmas. And so the Automobile Power Products that carry these bikes, the Jailing brand, this one that will be going to the fan, they also have the Eagle bike, and they have big promotions coming up for Christmas, so you ought to check them out. They are situated, let me get the address for you. They're in Charlotte Street, and Honda as well, Marix Honda. They are the sole distributor for Honda in Guyana. And so if you see anybody else selling Honda, it's not necessarily an authentic Honda, because Marix and the company is the sole distributor of Honda in Guyana. They carry Honda motorcycles, vehicles, ATVs, power products such as Honda generators, water pumps, tillers, lawnmowers, engines, brush cutters, and of course they have good after sales service, and they have a major promotion coming up for Christmas as well.
Nice.
So we want to encourage football lovers to support our sponsors, Automobile Power Products and Marix Honda. And of course, please do not move me off of these beautiful black and white babies without us bigging up our partners who have made these possible.
Yes, The America Home and Beauty World.
American Home and Beauty World, they are on Rob Street. They're opposite that big place with the cup. Yeah. They're across the road, and they're also across from Sharma's studio there. American Home and Beauty World. They have made this possible. They came on board. They said they love football and they want to be associated with football. And so this beautiful set that is, I can't tell you the value of it, because if I were to take one of this into my home, we probably wouldn't be eating anything for Christmas.
I must say thank you. I mean, they've definitely come a long way. Thank you very much in making this one possible. Dario, let me say thank you, Mr. McLennan, on all the hard work you've done in ensuring that the fans are rewarded, ensuring that I could sit comfortably on this sofa and probably look a little better.
But the beauty about what we do at GFF is one team, one dream. So I'm just a fraction in the whole equation of people who work day and night. So much sacrifice, as the president spoke about. You see our technical people, they're on the field in the evenings, on the weekends, sacrificing family time and so on to be able to bring quality football to the fans and keep football going. And so marketing is just a fraction of the whole equation of that one team, one dream approach.
All right. Let me say thank you, Dario, once again for joining me. And of course, we'll take a quick break and be right back. When we get back, we wrap up the show for today.
It's time to settle the score. Season 2 in the Stag Elite League. Witness football at its best as the Guyana Football Federation presents the Big Four. The Big Four. The Big Four. Friday the 10th of November. Semi-finals. Match 1. Fruto Conquerors versus Victoria Kings. Match 2. The Guyana Defense Force versus Boston United. Kickoff time 18 hours. Then the grand finals on Sunday the 15th of November. Both matches at the Lenore Track and Field Stadium. The Big Four. Brought to you with the kind compliments of the Guyana Football Federation and Stag Beer, a man's beer.
We are one team, one dream. This is who we are. One team, one dream.
Thank you and welcome back to Extra Time, of course, on this beautiful Sunday. I'm telling you, thank you for staying tuned. I know you had so many different things to do, but you decided to stick with us. Big Four, big things happening. Football is here. Football season is here. I'm happy to hear that season 2, the stage of Big Four is going to be closed off. And Linden, Guyana, Bartica, Berbice, wherever you are, you want to definitely come out and support this. This is big. East Bank, West Coast, wherever you are, support this football action. It's going to be big. In fact, the Big Four includes Fruto Conqueror taking on Victoria Kings. So I know the entire Tugville area is going to be empty this weekend. And of course, Victoria, what a wonderful village. I have thoroughly enjoyed Victoria. It's one of those places where you feel at home. It reminds me of Linden so much. Victoria reminds me of Linden, where everyone is one. Everyone comes out to support, everyone with one voice. If something happens, everybody comes together. I love that about Linden, love that about Victoria. So Victoria Kings and Fruto Conquerors, that is going to be one of the games. The first game, Victoria Kings, Fruto Conqueror. It's going to be exciting matchup in the semi-final action. And then of course there is GDF and Buxton United. That's the semi-final action. Of course, the grand finals, the winners playing the grand finals tonight. Linden, all 4 teams, Guyana, all 4 teams they absolutely deserve the credit for reaching this far. And for you fans, listen, if you don't come out, I'm telling you, we appreciate what you do. We appreciate the support you give. Get a chance to win a wonderful motorcycle. Bring those stubs. If you have those stubs from games that you were at or earlier in the season, please bring out those stubs. MVP, congratulations to you. MVP taking home a motorcycle. I'm telling you, you're going to be able to reach practice much earlier. You're going to be able to get and maneuver around. In fact, football this time around, football under the Win Ford's presidency, football at the Guyana Football Federation team right now speaks to a player-centered approach. Players, this is only the beginning of what's in store for you. I'm saying to you that footballers, for the very first time in Guyana, I am feeling as though as a fan that footballers are being shown appreciation for their efforts, that fans are being shown appreciation for their involvement. Footballers, the wonderful things I've heard that you're going to be benefiting from grassroots initiatives, from technical development, from institutional strengthening of clubs, from opportunities to be able to be on the biggest scene, from opportunities to be able to be viewed by scouts and other persons from around the country, from around the region, so to enable you and give you the best chance of having that opportunity to go off and play in other places. But of course, we're developing football here in Guyana. So the Guyana Football Federation is focusing on the third season of the Stag Elite League. This third season have 10 teams. 10 teams, third season of the Elite League. I know what I'm so accustomed to saying that. Third season of the Elite League. This time around, there's 10 teams involved. Teams from Berbice, team from Linden, team from Georgetown. This time around, you get a chance to see the best in the country come up against each other in the Elite League. Look out also, there are big plans to ensure football is inclusive of teams from across the country. So year-end football is going to be big. We're going to make that big announcement soon. But for now, I must say to you, the Big Four happening this weekend, the finals tonight at the Lenora Stadium. You can't afford to miss it. It's going to be exciting. I'm heading over there to have some fun. Before I go though, I must say thank you to the National Communications Network on making this one possible. We can't do this without partners. We can't do this without you. So thank you for coming on board. Must say thank you to all the sponsors and supporters, to Marix, to everyone out there that's supporting the Comex Church's Chicken. Thank you for being on board and making this one possible. Must say thank you to the American Home and Beauty Center. I absolutely love this set. This is the American Home and Beauty Center set, and we'll be bringing you all our interviews from right here at the American Home and Beauty Center set. I want to say thank you to the patrons over there. Thank you to the for the patrons for supporting that business. Thank you for the owners who came on board right away and say, you know what, I'm a football lover and I've got to support this. Let me say thank you to you, our viewers, for joining me this week. Remember, each and every week right here on NCN, I am Kieran, and I'll be here with the news, the views, the reviews. I'll be here doing interviews. I'll be here telling you everything that's happening in and around the world of football. Until next week, thank you for staying tuned and be good.
It's time to settle the score. Season 2 in the Stag Elite League. Witness football at its best as the Guyana Football Federation presents the Big Four. The Big Four. The Big Four. Friday the 10th of November. Semi-finals. Match 1. Fruto Conquerors versus Victoria Kings. Match 2. The Guyana Defense Force versus Boston United. Kickoff time 18 hours. Then the grand finals on Sunday the 15th of November. Both matches at the Lenore Track and Field Stadium. The Big Four. Brought to you with the kind compliments of the Guyana Football Federation and Stag Beer, a man's beer.
We are one team, one dream. This is who we are. One team, one dream.
It's time to settle the score. Season 2 in the Stag Elite League. Witness football at its best as the Guyana Football Federation presents the Big Four. The Big Four. The Big Four. Friday the 10th of November. Semi-finals. Match 1. Fruto Conquerors versus Victoria Kings. Match 2. The Guyana Defense Force versus Boston United. Kickoff time 18 hours. Then the grand finals on Sunday the 15th of November. Both matches at the Lenore Track and Field Stadium. The Big Four. Brought to you with the kind compliments of the Guyana Football Federation and Stag Beer, a man's beer.